Your family healthy this winter by rolling up your sleeves to get the flu shot. The SIU Center for Family Medicine in Lincoln is now scheduling patients for flu shots. They emphasize the prevention of future illness by promoting a healthy lifestyle and routine checkups. For more information or to schedule your flu shot, call SIU Center for Family Medicine in Lincoln at 217-735-2317 or click their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Forward for happy, healthy families.
Life is uncertain. Stop in and see me, State Farm Agent Jason France, on the west side of the Clinton Square, or click our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com and see how our full lineup of State Farm insurance and financial services can help protect your family.
Local farm broadcaster Jared White covers the local agriculture news you need to know. Hear his reports by downloading the free WHOW mobile app.
Is there anything better than just sitting outdoors enjoying nature? Well, I mean, I guess this chair could be a recliner. That'd be better. But there definitely wouldn't be anything better than that. Unless, of course, the recliner had one of those fancy built-in massagey things. Oh, and a bacon skillet.
There's always a better way to do things. With triple-stacked Enlist E3 varieties for proven performance, Zetavo soybean seed is seed done right. Zetavo from MS Technologies is distributed exclusively by BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
You want to feel important.
You want to be part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things.
You want to feel like you belong.
We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it.
We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers.
We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more.
When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it.
We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors.
From the lakeshores of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota.
The fertile fields of Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa to the wide open plains of North and South Dakota.
We are here for our hometowns.
And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Illinois Army National Guard, aired by the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're finding Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio today is Dr. Kris Kahler, Superintendent of Maroa-Forsyth Schools. Good morning, Dr. Kahler.
Good morning.
Exciting times at your school. You've got a football team making another deep run into November that just becomes kind of par for the course in Maroa, it feels like.
It is, but it's exciting every single time.
Right.
Anytime you get to past the early rounds in the playoffs, it's just a great atmosphere for the school and community.
Now you guys go to Rockridge, you said?
We go up to Rockridge this week.
Now, how far of a trip is that? Have you looked yet?
A little over 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow, man. Gotcha. So that'll be a Saturday game?
It'll be Saturday, 2:00.
All right. Well, best of luck to your kids. I know they're excited, and it's been another exciting season in Maroa for football. But among the excitement, Dr. Kahler, is as folks come into your community and they're, seeing what's going on with your building project, things are moving right along. What's going on with the building these days?
The building is moving along very quickly. Last week, they finished putting the gym floor down and started putting the sealer on that. The interior painting is going, and some of the classrooms have got their second coat of paint. The flooring in all the classrooms is done. It's coming along. February doesn't seem that far away, but it's going to be a very quick time till we get into that new building.
Yeah, no doubt. Just a few months. So what are you doing now to prepare for being in the building in February?
We've started our teachers, as they're finishing with units and materials, we're starting to pack those up. We've got those going on pallets so that we can get them moved into the teachers' new rooms. We've got our last week of day of tours on November 26th from 12 to 2:00 at the old building. After that, we'll start taking more things off the walls and getting that stuff moved over and to where it's going to be hung in the new building so that when we move in day one, it doesn't look like we're moving into a blank slate.
Now, they're using the old grade school right now. Is that right? Or still parts of it? Is that what's going on?
The middle schools are still in the old middle school. We've taken down the intermediate building already. And they're in there. When we get moved in, the first thing that will happen is we'll have a few weeks to clear out that building of everything that we want to keep, sell, whatever. And then they'll start taking the asbestos out of the parts that we're going to keep. The far north end of that building is going to be turned into the bus garage and admin building.
Oh, that's right.
And so that's going to be the first thing that gets done with the asbestos, then the rest of the building, because that comes down. When that building comes down, then they'll start with the construction. And then next summer is going to be a very big project, renovating a lot of space in the high school, turning what is our current cafetorium into a band room and choir room. Our current band room is going to be turned into like a fitness center. So making sure that all that gets done in next summer is going to be a very big project, which is why we kind of shortened our schedule this year to be out May 19th instead of extending one more week.
Gotcha. So look forward to that. And as the project continues to come along, you mentioned getting those classrooms ready. Will it be quite a transition? Are you going to have to take desks and, you mentioned like books and units and those things are kind of starting to move over there a little bit as you can. What is that going to look like?
We are getting all new desks and furniture in there for the teachers and the students, so that we're not going to be taking that kind of things over. There are a few teachers that had Promethean boards in their classrooms last year and this year. We're going to move those over that last week. We're moving over the teachers' computers, copy machines, things like that. But as those get cycled, they'll be replaced. One thing we did do as part of our ESSER money last year is we bought all the teachers in the district laptops so that those teachers already have computers. So even if we move those over, they still got access to all their files and everything that they can run their smart board or Promethean board from their laptops.
Gotcha. Now, I've talked to a couple of soups that have taken on projects like what you're doing here in terms of renovating classrooms, making new space, things like that. One thing they've talked often about is the changing look of the classroom in the 21st century. It's not necessarily all, desks in a row, students facing forward the whole time. There's a lot of group work and, kind of catering to now a new look environment in the school classroom. Talk a little bit about what that looks like for you all.
It has changed drastically. Most of our furniture now will be modular to where the teachers can move it around. It'll be on casters so that it's easy to move around. We don't have a lot of the student desks in the new building. It'll be mostly tables to where students can have collaboration, and the teacher is more of a facilitator of learning instead of just giving the knowledge to the students in an old-fashioned lecture.
Sure.
The other thing that we're looking at is even like we're putting up Promethean boards and casting TVs to where students can cast their screen up in our small group rooms into a TV to where they can be working on a project together in a small group, but everybody can see the screen instead of all huddled behind trying to look at it.
Right.
So we're doing those things to increase that collaboration between students, because that's what they're facing when they go to the workforce now.
Well, and even you talk about collaboration in the classroom, the way technology is anymore, now they can collaborate outside the classroom. They don't have to, I think of collaborating when I was in high school. I had to pick up the phone and call a buddy across town or whatever. Like now you can just jump on a laptop and you can chat in a group chat or something like that. It's very different in terms of that collaboration work.
Oh yeah, just even for meetings, there's times when we don't have meetings in person anymore, and students don't either. They can meet through Google Meets. They use Zoom. They know a lot of those different programs. And then the other thing, just through Google Docs or any of the Google Sheets that are applications that they're using. If they're making what used to be a PowerPoint presentation, they're using Google Slides, and everybody can be working on their own Chromebook at their own house and working on it at the same time, so that they're building it. It's not where you have to share it anymore or work on it at one time together.
Right.
It can be asynchronous, and they can be in different areas working on it and all working on the same project.
In terms of just the development of the new look classroom that you're embarking on, what are you most excited about in terms of the learning environment?
For me, I'm really looking forward to the new science labs at our school.
Oh, really?
They're just updated, and our science labs, obviously that building was built in 1930. I mean, it had been updated multiple times, but we're creating science labs that are going to be for what these students need to know now in the 21st century learning that they need to be doing now. It's going to be facilitate a lot of hands-on learning for the students.
Sure. In terms of just as we talked a little bit before we got started, and of course we talked about this the last several months, supply chains, costs and things, like that continue to be an issue. What are you running into there?
Supply chain has not been bad. I really have to compliment to the construction crew on their ordering things. They're watching the supply chain and the lead times, and they're ordering far enough in advance. We've got a very big shed that we put up on the east side of our football field. We're using a lot of that. We'd rather have the stuff in stock and here, so we're not waiting on supply, so that the workers can keep going.
Definitely.
We are watching the costs on everything, especially the things that we can't order yet because of the lead time, or that we know we don't have place to store yet. We're watching that very carefully. All those costs are going up. Labor costs are going up. We know that, but we're watching it as closely as we can and trying to predict where it's going to be and monitor that budget for the building project.
We talk about the timeline of this project being on schedule. Is the cost on schedule?
It is. We are on schedule for our budget. We're watching that all the time. Our contingency budget is something that we talk about every 2 weeks when we have our construction meeting.
Yeah.
And the big thing there is we haven't run into that problem. We haven't, because we did so much work beforehand planning that we didn't run into that situation, which has been a great asset.
Yeah.
We spent almost 2 years working on the planning of the building prior to breaking ground.
Yeah.
And I think that prior planning has really helped us monitor those costs well.
Dr. Kris Kahler, Superintendent of Maroa-Forsyth Schools, my guest in studio for this morning. When you talk about that contingency budget, where do those funds come from? Is that a part of the what you not levied, but when you went to the taxpayers for the referendum, was that a part of that? How does the contingency work?
The contingency was part of that.
Okay.
You build that into your budget because there might be things you don't know when you get into it. Specifically when you're looking at renovations, you've got as-built plans of the building, but you don't know a wire or conduit for wires might be off by a few inches, so that can make a big difference. And that contingency budget is built into the budget that we went to the taxpayers for. That way we've got that money there, and when project is done, if there's money left, there's things that we can do with that.
Yeah. What can you do with that? That's what I was just thinking.
Once the project is done, it can be used on the facilities. We're looking at many different facility upgrades. We're actually taking a 3-year facility upgrade plan to our board next week and looking at things. We need to do some energy upgrades. Those are things that are going to be coming up soon. We've got to do a parking lot upgrade at the grade school. It's just time to have that resurfaced. We're looking at possibly windows at the high school, looking at new windows that are more functional for what the high school needs. So those are all projects that are coming, and any money that's left after this will be put towards those projects.
Will that require more than what's left over, that building proposal you're talking about there?
Yeah, it will, but that'll be coming out of what we already budget for in Fund 60 every year, which comes from our countywide sales tax.
Right. Yep.
So we won't have to be going back to the taxpayers for another referendum on this. It's what we've built that plan, knowing roughly how much we get each year, and then we can phase that in over time.
You mentioned energy efficiency. That's interesting. That is the high school pretty energy efficient right now? Like, what are you looking at for improvements there?
We're just looking at possibly going to LED lights.
Okay.
And that will save quite a bit. But then, that alone is just going to be a big project. That's a lot bigger building than people realize. And so we're going to have to put that on the priority list. And then where does it fit? And then where can we budget for that over time? We're going to look at the same thing at the grade school for not just the inside lights, but the wall pack lights and the parking lot lights. They last longer, and we know they're more efficient to run.
Yeah, and I don't know if you go down Route 10 past D-Land Weldon schools anymore, but you can't miss it. The way they've redone the lights in the parking lot there, I venture to guess that's probably a lot of what your place will look like now.
That is.
Yeah, definitely. When you talk about, Dr. Kahler, that facilities plan that you put together, how'd you come up with these plans? What was that, maybe a steering committee like? What did that process look like?
Some of it came from our last strategic plan. Some of the input came in, and obviously the first thing was the new middle school, but then just looking at facilities of what needs to be fixed now. And that's where the grade school parking lot, which will be the biggest project coming up forward in the next couple of years. But then looking at, all right, where can we save money with energy efficiency? What needs to be done? And obviously safety always takes the first step. And we're looking at a facilities and a safety plan. Both of those things will be going to our board, and anything that we can do to make the building safer for our students and our staff, we're going to do that first. So yeah, that's the first thing.
I know the dynamics of DeWitt County. You probably don't watch a whole lot, but a conversation piece has come up a lot about that 1 cent sales tax. And for listeners here, I'd love your perspective on what has that 1 cent sales tax meant for Maroa-Forsyth. What opportunities has that afforded you all?
Well, since that 1 cent sales tax came in, some of the things that we did, and people might not realize because it's been there for a long time, is we redid our athletic complex. We've built the greenhouse, and then we've used it just to keep up on the maintenance of our buildings. And even that can't be used for things like end devices for technology, but making sure that our students have the best Promethean boards or smart boards at the time, making sure that those things were in place, we can use that 1 cent sales tax for that. So making sure that our students or that our buildings are always safe, and that we're looking ahead of, all right, this is a minor issue now. How can we prevent it from becoming a major issue?
Yeah. What if you didn't have that 1 cent sales tax? Any idea what your facilities might look like? Maybe opportunities you wouldn't have right now? Anything like that come to mind?
Our facilities, I don't think that we probably would have done some of the major upgrades that we have to our athletic complex. And I think that would have been the first thing. But the other thing is we're also using that 1 cent sales tax to keep our tax rate lower on the new bond for the middle school. Because we have that money coming in, we're abating a portion of that 1 cent sales tax to keep our tax rate lower, just provide that for our taxpayers in our community.
Definitely.
So, I mean, yeah, it's been on the things we've done already, but even thinking in the future, we're using that money to help keep our taxes under control, our property taxes at a lower rate.
Right. And I'm just kind of curious, like, I don't know how far forward you think on these things, but I don't think it would take long for that money to build up, especially when you talk about, facilities update that you've just done. You talk about the sports complex and those things. You're talking about energy efficiency, minor improvements. What happens, say 10 years down the road, or do you just kind of take those things as they come? How do you handle that?
We really are looking 3 years out with a good idea of what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we've kind of got that wish list of things that we would like to do. And then our current plan is to next year be looking 3 years out again, update the plan for the 2 years that we've already got, but then looking what's ahead so that we can continually be looking at minimum 3 years away and keep that wish list of things. And where can we finally make that fit into what we want to do?
I feel like the new middle school is kind of it's the middle school, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I feel like that's kind of the latest dream big proposal in Maroa.
Yes.
Is there another one on the horizon that's kind of starting to take shape in the conversation?
Right now, I wouldn't say that we've got a dream big. We're looking at some grant funding to possibly do some things with some pre-K, to build a pre-K addition. If that grant comes available, we will do that. But the next thing right now, we need to take some time and look at the facilities we have, update those before we're looking at that next big thing. I mean, we're looking years down the road. Yeah, we'd love to have a field house, but that's not something in the budget right now. It's not something in the plans right now. And it's not in the need to right now.
Right.
But someday we would like to have that. That's kind of that, out in that 5 to 10 year hope for, not
there
necessarily something that we need right now. We know we've got to do a few things to take care of the facilities that we currently have. I mean, simple thing. We got to put new flooring in the high school. It's 18 years old. It's time to redo the carpet and the tile in the high school, in the hallways and the offices, and get those kind of things taken care of. The gyms, we got to constantly be working on those. Every year they get, refinished, but every 10 years they've got to be sanded and completely refinished. So that's the kind of thing right now. We need to make sure that we're on the need to list, and then slowly looking in the future for those things that we really want to do and dream big.
Fair enough. Well, it just sounds like that sales tax has given you just so many opportunities at things perhaps you wouldn't have been able to tap into otherwise.
Oh yeah. And just the maintenance that it's allowed us to do, we are able to, we're not stressed to where, hey, we've got a spot on the roof that needs to be addressed, or we've got something that needs to be addressed right now. We know we've got that funding source coming in that we can do it. Now, obviously, if it's a huge project, that's different, but that day to day, we can just take care of that.
Excellent stuff, Dr. Kahler. Let's take a time out, my friend. Come back with some more. Dr. Kris Kahler, Superintendent of Maroa-Forsyth Schools, my guest in studio. More to come with him on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Monday. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn slightly lower, beans higher, Chicago wheat starting the day higher. December corn 679 1/4, down 1 3/4. March corn down 1 1/4, 685 1/2. And May corn underway on this Monday, 685 1/2, down 1 1/4. November beans 1457 1/2, up 6. January beans up 3 1/2, 1465 3/4. March beans 1472 3/4, up 3 3/4. December Chicago wheat 852 3/4, up a nickel. March wheat up 4 3/4, 871 1/2, and May wheat 881 1/4. That's up 4. December bean meal 421 even, up 60 cents. December bean oil 77.66, up 49 cents. Looking at the energy market on this Monday, December crude oil 92.58, down 3 cents. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Are you a friend of agriculture? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. We're giving a $500 Friends of Ag discount to anyone that orders a new Chevrolet or Buick to be built just for you this month. Are you a friend of ag? You are if you're a member of any ag organization, employed by any ag-related business, including research, inputs, manufacturing, sales, and marketing, and of course, ag education. Come in, order yours today. BombChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Clinton Save-A-Lot owner Dave Jackson here with a supply chain update. While we're working as best we can to keep our shelves stocked with the items you need and want every day, we're experiencing never-before-seen interruptions in product availability and delivery, both through Save-A-Lot and our direct suppliers. In most cases, they can't run their production lines due to the lack of workers, plus a shortage of truck drivers. Despite all that, we're working to keep the meat, produce, and other products you buy in stock and on our shelves every day. Your Clinton Save-A-Lot appreciates your business, and we hope to see you soon.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show is streaming to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio, Dr. Kris Kahler, Superintendent of Maroa-Forsyth Schools. Dr. Kahler, just recently, school report cards came out. How much have you been able to look into Maroa-Forsyth? What are you finding?
Right now, I've just done a really preliminary dig into it. I'm looking at our designated ratings. Our high school was got a designation of exemplary, which is top 10%. Very proud of that. Our middle school and grade school are both commendable, so that we're both on track. And a lot of that is not just their test scores, which people think that the report card is for, but it looks at graduation rate, students on track to graduate, 8th graders that are passing algebra. So there's a lot of things that go into that report card besides just the test scores.
Sure. When it comes to just the exemplary status of the high school, I may have heard this wrong, but from what I understand, like when you meet a standard there, doesn't the standard kind of increase? I mean, and so you have to like meet an even higher standard the next time around. Is that right?
Well, the standards are going up per year, but then they're also looking at how many of our students are growing per cohort. So that's a big piece of it, especially K-8 on that, is they're looking at the growth of those students. How many students move from partially meets to meets or from meets to exceeds. So there's all those pieces of it as well. I mean, there's a lot of different equations behind the scenes on those designations.
Now, is what you talked about before and how they is that how they measure those things beyond just test scores? How do they measure all that?
A lot of that we have to report. We have to report our graduation rate. We have to report our number of students on track to graduate. And that's not just the students that are here, but if they've moved to another Illinois school or if they've moved out of state, we have to report all of that information to the state so that they're looking at a true student to student ratio of, are those students meeting the expectations that the state has set for us? And then are they on track to graduate? Are our kids in 8th grade? What are a percentage of kids that are taking algebra and are they passing it? And how are they doing as they go on?
When it comes to all the reporting you have to do, that sounds crazy time consuming. Is it a lot of work?
It is, but with a good student management system like Skyward that we use, we can do a lot of uploads. It's not on a student by student. We're not going in and looking at each student and updating it, but we do have to go in and make any corrections on a student by student. And then we also have to go in if students have moved, we've got to put in where they've gone to, things like that, so that the state can track that. It is quite a bit of time going into it, but the accurate data is very important as not just for the school report card, but as we can track our students, how are they doing? How are they moving through the district?
Sure. Well, Dr. Kahler, about a minute here with you this morning. Calendar wise, anything coming up you want to point out to us? Anything like that?
Big thing for us is we just finished a very busy weekend with our middle school musical. That was fantastic. It's our last musical in our current cafetorium. Coming up on the calendar, we have got our athletics are turning into the winter season and football still going into the quarterfinals, but the busy time of the year is coming up right around Christmas, and then shortly after is a very busy time at schools.
Well, Dr. Kahler, we appreciate you making time for us. It's good to see you as always. That's Dr. Kris Kahler, Superintendent of Maroa-Forsyth Schools, my guest in studio. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news on the way.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHO